Shalom everyone, it's Mariah, professional organizer here, and we're back with another video on organizational tips and little nuggets of information. So today we are going to go over the saying, it's all your fault. We either know someone who has said it's all your fault or has been the person to say it's all your fault. So either on the receiving end or the one actually saying the phrase. So not only is that phrase not productive in the conversation, if you're having this with your spouse or your children or whoever lives in your home, it's not productive and it's not encouraging. It's not encouraging to tell someone it's your fault. Why? Because they feel like you're blaming them for whatever has occurred, especially if it's something that both of you all are involved in or have shared responsibility with. So here's some organizational tips for that phrase. It's all your fault. Well, let's take a step back. There was something that was supposed to be organized, planned, and one person may have thought, I know the plan, I know the process, I know the other person was a part of the plan, but maybe had not been clear about the plan and how it was supposed to be executed. Some organizational suggestions would be have weekly meetings. Have weekly meetings with your family. Have a command center. Go over the things that are supposed to happen through that week. Have it on your calendar on your wall. Have a planner in front of you. Have your phone in front of you that has the calendar app pulled up. Something to visually be accountable for so that there's no confusion on the date, the time, and what is supposed to be going on for that time. If you haven't started your weekly meetings with your family, it's really crucial. I mean, your family is vital in the functioning of the home. And in order to do that, you have to set guidelines and boundaries for respectful conversation. In these weekly meetings, you could talk about what's supposed to happen for the week, some trips that may be coming up, announcements. Maybe there are some conflicts that have been going on, like Johnny hasn't been putting his clothes in the hamper, and kind of, talking about some of those things of maybe, how could you support him better to do this responsibility that is asked of him. Having these expectations of what the conversation should look like, you get a better idea of how productive they can be. If everyone's on the same page about tone, words, tense conversations and how to go about those things, then there'll be less blaming and less frustration and irritation if these things are talked about beforehand and everybody has agreed on what the conversation should look like and how productive it should be. And then that way you don't have to spend an hour or days. You know how sometimes y'all like having conversations for multiple days. It breaks it down to maybe 30 minutes or 15 minutes or maybe even 5. So definitely making sure that you set the tone for the conversations each week, and there is a time where you all come together as a family and talk about those things. Talk about what is the fault. What is the fault? What is the fault? In order to talk about the fault, you have to set a default. Default. What is the default of conversations in your home? It's everybody's respectful. Everybody's using respectful language. Everybody's using respectful tone. And what does that look like? Well, you have to be an example of it, right? So if you're having a conversation and you feel like it's getting a little tense, you can say, I feel like this conversation is getting a little tense for me. right? Try to also speak for yourself. For me, so maybe if you would like, we could reconvene at another time to talk about this, because my emotions are starting to get in the way of my logical thinking. And it takes a lot to communicate that, but the more that you actually practice communicating in a positive way and knowing your boundaries and setting those boundaries with others, then it's going to be easier to have conversations that do need a little bit more attention. So have weekly meetings, set the default before your fault. And another thing I would say is, with having command sensors in your home, not only can you put mail there and your keys and your calendar for the month and the week, you can also put a grocery list. So that cuts the organization for the grocery list out. You can have something up there where you write the things that you need to restock or the things that are out. All those things, so that when you do go to the grocery store, or you buy your groceries online, you can be prepared and organized to not overbuy or buy duplicates of things. It's extremely important that you have the 2 V's. You have the verbal instruction and you have the visual instruction. Verbal instruction is great because you're communicating through your words and you are letting someone know what is expected of them, what's expected of yourself, and that's fine, right? I need you to do this, I need you to do that, I need you to do that, and this, and that. Next thing you know, there's a whole list of things that are invisible. They're just words. Whoop, they go in one ear, out the other. Some people are like that. Some people can really grasp onto someone's words and do exactly everything that they said. And then there's people who are visual, where you're like, okay, I need to do this, that, and the third, and I text it to you. And if you can get this done for me by this date, I would really appreciate it. Are there any questions or anything that I can support you with through this process? Because you can't just ask for help, or you can't just ask for someone to do something for you, and they might not be a person who just can hear things and then do them. Sometimes it's a person that hears things and needs to see them as well. And then there's these type of people who need to see verbal instruction, visual instruction, but they also need the practice, right? So use these weekly meetings to kind of practice some of these techniques or things that you need people to do in your home, whether that's cleaning the bathroom or vacuuming. You got a new vacuum, nobody knows how to use it. It's like kind of scary because it doesn't have a cord. And you're teaching everyone how to use a vacuum and things like that. And sometimes that might be that you ask, like, what would be the best way to go over, learning these things with your family. This is not only important because it's showing people in your family that you care about how they are learning these things, but you're also helping them help themselves. So when it is time for them to have that responsibility in the home, they feel confident, they feel good, they feel empowered that they can actually successfully do something without being at fault for it, because you set them up with a default. So here we go again. It's not dad's fault that little Johnny got left at the school and he's the only one at the school and nobody picked him up yet because everybody forgot. No, y'all didn't forget. You didn't organize. You didn't organize to pick little Johnny up. Let's be honest with ourselves. Professional organizer Mariah will be honest with you. These are real problems for people who are actually trying to change their life. These are real problems. and I'm giving you real solutions. Now, you don't have to take all the solutions, or you can kind of merge them together, or you can kind of, take what I'm saying and say, wow, well, maybe for my family, it'll work better this way. And that's great. But what you've been doing for 10 years, think about it. It might not be working. You might need to switch it up a little bit. Your approach may need to change just a little bit. And you'll see the change in your family because you're approaching them in a different way. If you want to get a little, you got to give a little. Give a little to get a little, okay? So please, please, please work together on organizational solutions that are not emotionally driven. Do not blame others for your lack of. Do not blame others for your negligence. We all have to work together if we want to live in shalom. So remember, Command Center weekly meetings. Set the default for these meetings, the tone of the conversations, all those things. Remember your boundaries. Set them. Respect others' boundaries. It's called self-control, people. And really be proactive in your solutions, in your organizational solutions. Because maybe little Johnny got left at the school because something came up. There should be a plan for that. Have a plan. And sometimes have a second plan. But if you're organized, those plans can follow through if you stick with them. So remember, if you're not living in shalom, then you're not living. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.